So Anatoly Moskvin is a name that some people might know, some people might not. He's known for digging up bodies out of the graveyards and bringing the bodies home, usually young women, young girls, bringing the bodies home and making dolls out of them. This is a true story that happened in Russia not that long ago. Now, currently, I'm at a museum in New Jersey checking out this amazing exhibit on automata. And it was reminding me the story of this guy, Moskvin. So I'm going to tell you the story of him digging up these graves and making these dolls. And it's an unbelievable story while I'm showing you these amazing but creepy automata. So Anatoly was born in 1966 in the Soviet city of Gorky, now known as Nizhny Novgorod. Anatoly was quiet, he was intelligent, very book smart, but very socially withdrawn. And as he grew older, he leaned heavily into academics rather than people. But even as a child, there was something else competing for his attention: death. From a young age, Moskvin was drawn to cemeteries. While other children played in parks or courtyards, he wandered among headstones, reading names and dates, and over time, this interest hardened into obsession. He later claimed that one formative moment occurred when he attended the funeral of an 11-year-old girl named Natasha Petrova. According to his own account, adults at the burial forced him to kiss the dead girl and placed a ring on his finger, mirroring one of hers. He described it as a ritual, something symbolic, even supernatural. Whether this event happened exactly as he described it remains disputed, but what's clear is that Moskvin himself believed it marked the beginning of something irreversible. As he grew older, his fixation didn't fade, it matured. Moskvin went on to study philology at Moscow State University, focusing on languages, folklore, and Celtic culture. He became fluent in multiple languages and developed a scholarly interest in burial traditions and death rituals. As an adult, he was known locally as a cemetery expert. He could locate obscure graves, forgotten plots, and navigate burial grounds most people avoided. Sometime in the late 1990s, that obsession crossed a line. Under the cover of darkness, Moskvin began visiting cemeteries alone. He targeted the graves of young girls, typically children. Though some were teenagers or young adults, many had died decades earlier. He studied burial records, waited for ground to soften, and carefully exhumed the bodies. Over the next several years, Moskvin developed a disturbing routine. He brought the remains back to his small apartment where he worked to preserve them. Using salt, baking soda, and other drying methods, he mummified the bodies. Once preserved, he transformed them into what he referred to as dolls. He dressed them in children's clothing, sometimes modern outfits, sometimes handmade dresses. He seated them on chairs, sofas, and shelves. Their faces were altered: fabric masks, stitched smiles, button eyes, makeup. In some cases, he placed music boxes inside their bodies so that when touched, they would play. To anyone walking into the apartment, it looked like a room full of life-size dolls. But these were not dolls. They were dead children. Moskvin named them. He celebrated their birthdays. He spoke to them. He claimed they were lonely in the ground and that he was giving them warmth, companionship, and care. He insisted that one day, science or something older and stranger might bring them back. For years, no one noticed. His parents lived with him and believed he collected antique dolls. Meanwhile, families across the region visited graves that were no longer intact. Coffins lay empty beneath the soil, unnoticed, sometimes for decades. Everything unraveled in November of 2011. Police investigating a series of grave desecrations traced activity back to Moskvin. On November 2nd, they entered his apartment. What they found stunned even seasoned investigators. At least 26 mummified bodies. Some reports initially said more. were discovered arranged throughout the space. They ranged in age from around 3 years old to young adulthood. Many were still wearing burial clothing. Some had hospital tags hidden inside them, listing dates and causes of death. One contained a dried human heart. Among the victims was a girl named Olga Chardomova, around 10 years old when she died. Her family had visited her grave for years, unaware that her coffin had long been empty. It wasn't until the investigation that they learned her body had been taken and kept in Moskvin's apartment. When confronted, Moskvin did not deny what he had done. He spoke calmly. He said he had rescued the girls. He said they were happier with him than in the ground. And he denied any sexual motive and claimed any of his actions came from loneliness and a desire to care for them. He told investigators he had always wanted children but was denied adoption. In his mind, this was not a crime, it was guardianship. Psychiatric evaluations painted a clearer picture. Moskvin was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Doctors determined he was unfit to stand trial. In May of 2012, he was committed to a psychiatric hospital under compulsory treatment, where he remains under supervision. And as for the bodies, authorities quietly removed them from the apartment. Russian officials rarely released information about reburial processes, but families were notified where possible. Some remains were returned to proper burial. Others, long disconnected from records or relatives, were handled privately by the state. The cemeteries Moskvin once walked through still bear graves that were opened, violated, and then closed again. What makes the Moskvin case especially unsettling isn't just the act itself, but the length of time it went unnoticed. For over a decade, a man lived among the dead, speaking to them, celebrating with them, and convincing himself he was their protector. Not to mention that his parents lived there too, and believed that they were living with dolls. To the outside world, he was a reclusive scholar. To the families of the victims, he was something else entirely. And perhaps most disturbing of all is that Moskvin never described what he did as wrong. In his version of events, the tragedy wasn't what he did to the dead, but that he was stopped. Crazy story. I figured you'd enjoy hearing the story and also seeing these beautiful automata. It's too bad they're not working like the ones in Scotland, but I get it. This is an actual museum. And if you're in the New Jersey area, come to the Morris Museum. You can see all these amazing pieces of history for yourself. More creepy stories to come on the Beyond Lore channel. See you in the next video.